Hi everyone, my name is Robin Kerber and I'm the Farm and Seed to School Coordinator with the Maine Child Nutrition Program with the Department of Education. And to wrap up our pilot program with Farm to Early Child Care, April Taylor and I are going to be talking about the culinary side of it, so local procurement and food prep. So when we look at food prep and utilizing local ingredients in our child care programs, some of the big questions: where do I find local food? How do I find my farmer? And then after I get the food from my farmer, what do I do with it? And just a quick note, these graphics here and a lot of the other illustrations in this presentation are part of our Harvest of the Month program. So we hired a local Maine artist to come up with some really beautiful illustrations that you too can use if you participate in Harvest of the Month. And we'll get into that shortly. So what does local mean? You know, that word definitely gets tossed around a lot. It's kind of become a buzzword like organic or sustainable, but really there's no strict definition for what it means in our child care programs. Basically, with child nutrition program, we consider local to mean Maine grown, produced, caught, or harvested, so within the state boundaries. And this is just a little picture of a calendar showing all the different varieties of food that can be grown in Maine year round. So you know, you're not going to see a whole ton this time of year. End of winter, early spring is definitely our driest season as far as local procurement, but there are quite a bit of options, especially in the warmer months and into the fall. And it's really exciting to see how farmers are taking advantage of what we call season extenders, so like greenhouses and hoop houses and stuff like that, where the shoulder seasons, spring and fall, the growing time can be extended because we are covering our crops out of the field and creating warmer environments for them. So one opportunity that I manage with Child Nutrition Program is the Harvest of the Month program. And we actually have over 30 childcare sites right now pledged to participate in the program through CACFP. And this would be a really great next step after this pilot program comes to an end this spring, is to consider pledging to participate in Harvest of the Month. So what this is it's a statewide initiative where we encourage the use of local ingredients in your child care programs or your schools. And you pledge to serve a specific ingredient at least 2 times a month on your menus. So for example, January is potato month, and so twice in January you would have to source and serve local potatoes. And it's just a really great program. It's a really kind of easy first step into local procurement because the you know, what we're asking you to do is relatively simple, and then we provide the support. We help you connect with the farmers, and we also provide you with really great material that I mail out, including beautiful posters, fact sheets, and recipes. So you can see here's a summer squash fact sheet. It's got some fun info and a couple different recipes. And then we also have stickers. There's an example of the tomato one, so you can get really creative with those, with taste testing or activities with your kiddos. And we have a website that's full of great resources for you. I send out a monthly newsletter, an e-newsletter that includes, you know, possible farms to source those ingredients and some fun recipes, and you know, maybe any other opportunities that might be available based on that ingredient. And then of course, within the Department of Education, I'm a relatively new hire. I've been in this position for a year and a half now, and my big part of my job is managing this program and helping you feel more comfortable getting local foods into your programs. So the Harvest of the Month program, definitely encourage you to check that out. It's a great one. And you know, when we think about ways to source locally, I love the idea that I think there's so much potential in childcare because a lot of the sites are a lot smaller. You know, you're not looking at like a big school or a huge school district and trying to get local ingredients, and we have to buy, you know, a pallet of potatoes. You know, maybe you can get by with a 10-pound bag of local potatoes that you buy at Hannaford. So it just seems like a really great fit local procurement for the childcare sites. And so I'm going to go over shortly different ways to source locally, and always just keeping in mind that local means grown in Maine. But of course, if you're down in York County, our southern county, maybe it makes sense for you to be buying from a farmer in New Hampshire, and that just, that's not, we wouldn't consider that to be local, but maybe for you it's 5 miles away. So that's, like I said, there's no strict definition for that. But a great tool that we have on our website is this map that we've created. So it shows all different farms that have pledged that they want to participate in Harvest of the Month. And so this is by no means a representation of all the farms that are actively selling to childcare, to schools, or to institutions in the state. This is just ones that, went onto our website, said they have an interest in selling to schools and childcare sites, and so now their information is there. And all of this can be found right at that URL, maine.gov, DOE, Harvest of the Month, CACFP. I think if you just search, do a quick Google search of some of those keywords, it would also pop up. But and another project, we've been developing some really great culinary video tutorials. So those are all on YouTube and are easily accessible on our website, showing different recipes. And then Paula in our office did a great job of including the downloadable recipe right below the link to the video. So that's another great resource for you as you're thinking about incorporating more local ingredients into your programs. And every once in a while we get really lucky and we have these opportunities, statewide opportunities, where procuring locally feels easy, feels affordable, feels great. And right now there's a program where we have partnered with an organization called Maine Coast Fishermen's Association. They're a nonprofit organization. They're based out of Brunswick. They work with a lot of coastal communities, working harbors, fishermen, to support them. And what this program is this past year during the pandemic, a lot of fishermen weren't even going out of harbor. They were staying tied up at the docks. They weren't even going out into the ocean to go fishing, because if they did, they'd come back and they would end up losing money because they couldn't sell their fish. There was no market, restaurants were closed, a lot of institutions were closed. It was just a very different scene than what they had been used to. So the Maine Coast Fishermen's Association, they saw not only that challenge, but they saw the huge rise in awareness of food insecurity in our state, and said, well, what if we get funding, we buy directly from the fishermen, and we get that fish donated to schools, to childcare sites, to food pantries. And so that's what's been happening. So they buy the seafood, the fish, directly from the fishermen. It gets processed and cut and filleted and boxed beautifully, and Nova Seafood and a couple of other fish processors down in Portland. And then we have been reaching out to schools and childcare sites, and you have to go down to Portland and pick it up, so that's kind of the only barrier there. But it's free fish, and it is so fresh. It is oftentimes brought into the harbor on Sunday, filleted on Monday, picked up on Tuesday, and it's been beautiful, flaky white fish, hake, pollock, cod. So this has been just a really fun opportunity. It's all free and donated. These are some pictures that childcare sites who have participated in the program have sent me of using the fish in their menus. We've been hearing some really, really positive feedback. And this is just an example of local procurement. This is local protein free into childcare sites. And this opportunity we promoted on the CACFP listserv. So it's kind of like, if you're involved with CACFP in that program, on that listserv, you're potentially going to hear about some really cool opportunities like this. And like I said, I was going to talk a little bit about how to source locally. So there's a lot of different options, and we'll just go through them just so you get an idea of what might work best with your program. So the first one I want to talk about is, you always hear the word CSA. It stands for Community Supported Agriculture. And basically this is the idea that you're supporting the farmer financially at the beginning of the season, when they often have a lot of their bigger costs, right? They're like fixing up their equipment, getting it ready to go out in the field. They're buying all of their seeds, they're hiring for their staff, but there's still a lag in when they're actually going to be making money off of those items or the stuff that they're growing. But they're still, working. And so you're supporting them financially up front, and then throughout the season, you're often getting in a box or a bag, whatever is at its peak ripeness. And you're getting it at a really good price. You're getting it at the wholesale price, not the retail price you pay at the farmer's market. And I love this idea for childcare sites because I'm imagining that, you're part of the CSA program. Every week you have your big box of veggies that comes in, you open it up with all the kiddos, you go through it, you talk about the varieties, you talk about different uses, you talk about if they've had them or not. It's a really great hands-on learning opportunity, and then maybe you take it into the kitchen, you cook up something with the ingredients, and this is just really fun. And a good example too of one that, wouldn't really work in a school unless it was a tiny school, but smaller childcare sites, this could be really, really cool. Cooperative buying, so looking at the idea of either partnering with other childcare sites or the farmers partnering with other farmers to consolidate their products or consolidate your buying and be able to get a more reasonable price. So, if you go to a farm and you say, hey, on this one childcare site, we want to buy a flat of tomatoes a week, they're going to give you a pretty good price because that's a decent quantity. But if you go to them and say, hey, there's a group of half a dozen childcare sites in your neighborhood, we've all partnered together, we want to buy 5 flats of tomatoes a week, that's, then you might get a better price from that farmer because he's able to move more product. And it just, so working within your community to get that cooperative buying power. Farm direct, so collaborate directly with your local farmer, find out who they are. Maine, we're so lucky to have so many amazing small family farms, and they love to keep the money in their communities. You are their neighbors and vice versa. So working directly with them is a great idea. Just a couple of etiquette reminders. Oftentimes these farmers live right on their farm. So when you walk onto their farm, you're walking into their front yard. So always call ahead. Make sure that you can schedule a time to come and meet them. You don't catch them off guard. That's just the polite thing to do. Respect the boundaries. Like I said, these farms are often also their homes and their businesses. Find out where to park. Come prepared to walk around the veggie fields. That's going to be a great learning opportunity for you too to see what they're growing. So get your muck boots on and possibly your rain jacket, and be prepared to go on a fun tour. Of course, pick only what you are invited to eat. Don't just go grazing around their front yard like it's a buffet, and always be careful of where you're stepping. And so when I reach out to a farm, or when I encourage you to reach out, this is just some basic information that you're going to want to gather. You're going to get the contact information. Do they have a website you can check out? Are they on social media? You can usually get a really good sense of who they are there. Have they sold a childcare before? If not, then this conversation might be a little bit more in depth and get an idea of your buying patterns and how you can really make it work, because the more they know about your program, the better the relationship is going to be. Do they offer farm tours? That could be a really good field trip for you. Not so much during the time of COVID, but in the future, hopefully that's something we can get back to doing because it's a lot of fun. And are they interested in coming to your child care facility? This is a really great relationship, and chances are the farmer is very busy in the summer, but maybe they have some downtime in the winter, and you could, have a little meet your farmer opportunity. And then going directly to the farmer's market, chances are you're not going to be bringing all your kiddos with you unless you just have a few, like a really small childcare site. But this is a great way to, when you're just starting off with local procurement and you say, who are the farmers in my area? I could do a Google search, I could look on some maps, but a really great way is to head down to the farmer's market and see who's set up. And oftentimes they'll have the name of the farm on their banner and what town they're in. And this is just a really great way to, in not a lot of time and in one small space, meet your farmer, see who's out there in your community. And then if you're a school or a bigger childcare site, chances are you're using one of our food producers, whether it's PFG or Cisco, and then a couple of the smaller ones that, that do a really great job with local sourcing, Crown of Maine and Native Maine. And it's my understanding that they do a good job of really showing on their price sheets when ingredients are local, and just always making sure that you have a conversation with your sales rep. Hey, we're doing Harvest of the Month program. We need these local carrots for our menu. If you can only supply us with 5 out of the 20 pounds I need, please let us know before you just switch to the conventional carrot or switch to the carrots from California, because I think that can often happen. They'll sub out an equivalent. So just, have a conversation with your sales rep and say this is something you're interested in, and who knows, they might have some great ideas for you that you're not even thinking of. Yeah, so that's kind of it for this part of the presentation before we get into some recipe fun and going over what is in season this time of year. But just always remember, as you're going about with farm to early childcare and thinking about local procurement, it's a win-win-win. The kids are going to win because they're going to get access to these healthy, awesome, high quality ingredients. When you pick something fresh from the vine and you eat it a day later, it's going to be 100 billion trillion times better than a tomato that was picked in California and shipped across the country and ripens on the grocery store shelf, maybe to some pinkish hued thing. It's just going to be better. The kids are going to have better food. The farmers are going to benefit because they're going to have a consistent, reliable partnership in you and your childcare site, often serving food year round. And farmers are really, and they've seen this specifically in the last year with the pandemic, that they need to diversify their markets. If you're just selling to all restaurants and then suddenly all the restaurants close, you as a farmer are up a creek without a paddle. So they really need to diversify, and maybe they haven't even thought about selling to schools or childcare sites. So I think that they would be really excited about that. And then of course your community benefits, because the food transportation is a lot less. You're not, all of the carbon footprint is going to be lower. And, we drive around beautiful rural Maine and we see these fields of hay and these fields of veggie and our beautiful working coastline. And that's all food production and food culture. And if we keep our dollars local and we buy from them and support them, we're preserving our beautiful natural environment here in Maine too. And that wraps up this part of my presentation. That's my email there, robin.kerber@maine.gov. Please reach out with any questions, any ideas, if you need any support, specific recipes, looking for a farmer. I'm here, I'm happy to help. It's my job and I love it. So thank you, everybody.